Hello everybody, it's Mystic and welcome to my library. If you are new here, hello, my name is Mystic and I play all sorts of games here on my channel, from RPGs to cozy games to puzzle games. I pretty much cover it all, and if you've been here before, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about some games that I thought would be really atmospherically appropriate for the fall season. It's definitely one of my favorite seasons for like some ambiance and some like cozy games and even some RPGs. So I wanted to make a list of what I think would be the perfect games to play in the fall season. Now you may have a completely different list, and that's okay. I would actually love to hear what your games are for the fall. These are just my personal preferences based on what I've been playing lately and what I would also like to play in the coming fall months. Let's start with a game that actually just recently released, and that is Strange Antiquities. This goes along with Strange Horticulture, which is the game that came out a couple of years ago by the same developers. And these games are honestly amazing for fall. The setting seems like it is a fall setting. You're getting a lot of rain, a lot of gloomy weather. The story's a little bit dark. So it is definitely like the perfect mood for fall. It also has a really great mystery that you need to solve. Some of the items that you're like looking at are also pretty creepy looking, so it has that kind of like Halloween vibe to it. The story itself is very dark. And yeah, I just think that playing this game in the fall with like a candle lit, maybe a cup of tea, would honestly just be like the perfect night for just some fall cozy vibes. Maybe even not so cozy. Sometimes, like I said, it can be a little dark, but not scary. It's not like a horror game or anything like that. So if you're not into being scared, like I'm not, I think you would really enjoy this game. Next up is actually a game that I streamed, I think it was last fall actually, and that is Beacon Pines. And Beacon Pines is a narrative kind of visual novel type point and click game that just, it involves like you're playing as woodland creatures, and there is actually a pretty dark story that accompanies that game. I didn't know what to expect going into it because, like I said, all of the creatures are like happy little woodland animals. The story is actually really dark. There's several endings within the game. Some of them are pretty bad. There's also like some scary elements to the story and the game itself as well. It just has that mood to it that would be perfect to play in the fall. There's like some creepy vibes. There's some dark and ominous vibes. It is one that I think would play very well on the Steam Deck. So I do recommend checking this one out if you have a Steam Deck. I think it's also on the Switch, so you could probably play it on the Switch as well. And just, you know, cozy up with a blanket and play this kind of dark, not super scary visual novel. Next up is actually a game that my husband really likes. I played it. I do think it has a really good fall vibe to it. It's not my favorite game just because it is a little bit difficult, at least as far as like solving puzzles go. And sometimes when I'm looking for like that cozy fall element, I want something a little less like strenuous on my brain. So this one is maybe hit or miss for some people, but I do think as far as like fall goes, this one does hit all the boxes for when you're looking for that kind of fall ambiance. And that is Blueprints. This game came out, I think, over the summer this year. I enjoyed it. I actually really had a lot of, or maybe it was over the spring. I don't remember. I had a lot of fun with it. I don't think it's my all-time favorite when it comes to puzzles because some of them are so hard to figure out. And like, I'm a pretty good puzzle solver. Like, one of my favorite games as a high schooler was Myst, which I know can be very difficult, but this one, it had those Myst vibes, and I think that's why I liked it, but it definitely had some puzzles that I just could not figure out. But I do think that you're like going through this creepy manor, it's constantly changing, you're trying to figure out like the mystery, what happened to everything, why you're being left this house. It actually reminds me a lot of a book I'm reading right now called Starling House, where you're like in this somewhat sentient house trying to figure out what the heck is going on. It just kind of has that mood for fall, like kind of spooky, a little bit cozy. It has some puzzle solving. You can definitely play it on your Switch. That's how I played it. And yeah, I do think that it would be a great fall game if you are into more difficult puzzles. The next one, we are moving a little bit more towards cozy, less creepy, spooky, and that is Coffee Talk 1 and 2. I played Coffee Talk 2 a few years ago. I actually haven't played Coffee Talk 1 yet. I know, I need to work on that. These games are definitely more visual novels. You're playing as a barista at a coffee shop. I think it's in Seattle. Well, it's like fantasy Seattle. You're learning the stories of all the people that come in to order coffee or tea. And while you're serving them, you get to know their life story because they're like talking to you. It's just very atmospheric, very cozy. The whole, like, I would love to go to this coffee place. If it was a real place, I think I would absolutely love that. And the fact that you're serving tea and coffee, which to me are like very appropriate beverages to drink in the fall, especially when it's cold and you want something hot to drink. So I definitely think that this one is perfect for somebody that just wants the story of a game. There's really no difficult gameplay. Yes, you're making coffee drinks, but there's not a whole lot that is going to be stressful with this game. Sometimes you can mess up an order, but it doesn't seem like that's a huge issue. You might just have to go back and like do something different the next time. But it's great for when you just want to chill, have a cup of tea yourself, talk to the patrons of this coffee shop, get to know their story a little bit. There are also some like maybe darker stories involved in the game, but it's not anything scary. You're not going to be up all night thinking, you know, what's that sound or things like that. Like, you're going to enjoy yourself. It's not anything that's going to freak you out. And it's just very, very cozy, and it's perfect to have on a chilly night. Now, next is another one that I think kind of goes in the opposite direction as far as scariness versus coziness. This one, while not necessarily super scary, is definitely more of a spooky game as opposed to something that is a little bit cozier, and that is Darkside Detective. I know there's a couple of games in the Darkside Detective series. I've only played the first one so far, and I did stream it probably last like Halloween time. And again, it is like the perfect, like kind of creepy fall game that you might want to play closer to Halloween because it has that, you know, kind of sinister vibe to it. I wouldn't say it's necessarily scary. I wasn't playing it and getting like creeped out or anything like that. There were some darker tones to it. There were definitely some mysteries that I had to solve, but it wasn't like I was scared. And it's another point and click kind of game so that you can kind of take your time, like finding things out and like figuring out the story, piecing things together. There's no like sense of like urgency that, you know, there's a monster behind you and you have to run kind of thing. It's a chill, kind of spooky game that I think for people that enjoy kind of those darker vibes that aren't necessarily into being scared, this one would be a perfect one. I think it probably plays in like 5 or 6 hours. It's not one that you're going to be spending a ton of time with, but it is pretty memorable for a kind of like darker fall game. Next up is another one that is definitely a little bit scarier. This one actually scared me, but I am definitely a chicken when it comes to playing kind of darker, scarier games. This one is called Dredge. I think this came out last fall. It's a fishing game, but is a fishing story-driven horror game. Yes, like the horror, like you're fishing and like you might encounter like a monster fish, or there's like these times where you go into the ocean and like you feel like something's watching you. It's very like psychological horror meets fishing game, which I know sounds ridiculous, but it works. And it feels very like Lovecraftian almost. And I don't know, something about this game. It was very cool. I played it last fall. I thought it was a perfect fall game. Definitely scared me a little bit. It's hard to describe. It's kind of like a chill scary, I guess, because you're fishing, right? And there are some points in the game where you're going to be like, oh, okay, that's weird. I also think it is perfect. If you were looking to get a little scared during the fall season, especially during Halloween, I do think this one would be the perfect option. If you're not really in the mood for like the cozy fall games, but you want to be scared, definitely look up Dredge. Next up is a game that I have not touched probably in like 10 years, but has the perfect fall ambiance. It's one of those like walking simulator games that were very popular back then that, you know, sometimes still make a resurgence every now and then, where you're basically just exploring an area, kind of looking at things, trying to piece together the story of what happened. And that is Gone Home. In this game, you're playing as, I think, like a college student who's going home for the semester, and you're trying to figure out where everybody is because nobody's home at the moment. Like, you live with your family. You're trying to figure out, like, where did your sibling go? Where are your parents? And you're kind of like going through. There are definitely some moments of it being a little bit scary where there are certain things that are going to happen that might make you jump, but it's not it's not like a true horror game. There is a really good story to this one as well. I remember like crying during this one, and it's just, sometimes these games kind of surprise you because you're just walking around and exploring a house, right? But you get to learn so much about the people that are living there. It's just very impactful. I definitely recommend it. It's been out for several years at this point, so it's usually pretty cheap, but it's definitely worth your time. It's not a very long game at all. You could probably finish it in an evening. I think it plays on the Steam Deck, but I played this game before the Steam Deck even existed, so I don't know 100%, so don't quote me on that, but I do think that it is a great, like, kind of fall, maybe a little bit on the darker side game, but still cozy at the same time. Next is a game that I just finished, and this one's very different for me. I have not ever played an Otome game really before. And if you're wondering what an Otome game is, it's like a dating sim. Well, it's a dating sim / visual novel. You get to meet like different love interests and learn more about them as time goes on, and then you can kind of decide like which one is your favorite. There's like a true ending, there's a bunch of like good endings and bad endings. It's just a really cool like visual novel / dating game. This one is called Piofiore, which is set in Italy, which shout out to all of my Italians out there. I loved this one because it is set in the fall. This game is set, I believe, in November. And so you get a lot of that like feeling of like the autumn chill. It gets referenced a lot in the game. They're talking about getting ready for the holidays and how it's getting cold. It is a longer, probably the longest game. No, it's not the longest game on here. But it is a longer game. I think it took me like 40 hours or so to finish in order to get all the routes. But if you are super interested in like a romance game or a dating sim or a visual novel, I definitely recommend this one. It's got perfect vibes for the fall. They also talk so much about Italian food, which as an Italian, I really appreciate because I got to learn like new recipes and like other things that I could make that have to do with my culture. So I don't know. There was just something really cozy about that. They talked a lot about making hot chocolate, which again, perfect for the fall season. Also just very cozy. This one is, there's no like combat or anything like that. It's a true visual novel. You are just talking to people, learning the story. It's kind of like reading a book. Honestly, like perfect for fall. I constantly was playing this. This is only on the Nintendo Switch, by the way. You cannot get this on Steam. I was constantly just playing it like with a cup of tea and a blanket, and it was perfect. I also want to give a shout out here to 9RIP, which is another Otome game. Now, I have not played this one yet, but I have heard amazing things from my friends that have played it. And this one is also a perfect fall game because all of the love interests are like dead or like undead. Like you're going to have like ghosts and that kind of thing, which is also perfect for this time of year. It's also, I think, got a pretty dark storyline. Now, Piofiore does too. Piofiore has a very dark storyline as well. I don't know which one is darker, but if you are looking for something that has like that dark kind of ambiance, then definitely either Piofiore or 9RIP, if you are in the mood for something that is like an Otome or a visual novel, I think would be perfect for this season. Both of them are only available on the Nintendo Switch. They are not available on Steam. Up next is another game that I streamed, and I think I streamed it last fall as well. I haven't streamed lately, so a lot of these are from when I was streaming last year, but this one is Slay the Princess, and this is another kind of visual novel story-driven game where you are kind of reliving the same day over and over again, and you meet this princess and you have to try to kill her. That is the point of the game. Obviously, she's going to try and dissuade you from doing that. I don't know what I was expecting with this game. I really don't. It is very scary, first of all. Probably darkest game that I've got on my list now that I am looking at it. This one is dark. There are some elements that actually really freaked me out on here. There are a lot of trigger warnings for like self-harm and mutilation and murder and just all sorts of stuff. I don't even know if I could list them all on here. So if you do want to play this game and any of those might bother you, please look up trigger warnings before you play it. There's so many. That also is kind of the same for a few of the games on this list, but especially Piofiore and 9RIP. I would look up the trigger warnings for those as well because there are several. I did enjoy Slay the Princess a lot. The story is so interesting, and I never actually finished it. I need to go back and do that now that like we're kind of in fall season again. I need to figure out what the heck was going on in that game because I still think about it sometimes. I still think about it and I try to figure out like what the heck is going on. And I know the people that made Slay the Princess have a lot of other games that are kind of like the same thing. They're a little bit dark. They're a little bit creepy. There's like a story-driven element to it. So I want to try more of them at some point, but I really do need to finish Slay the Princess because I don't know. I feel like I was getting to the bottom of things and then like I needed to take a break from streaming and I never finished it. So it is one that I want to go back and play. And now that it's fall, I think I'm going to do that. If you are definitely looking for a darker story that doesn't have a lot of like combat or gameplay elements or anything like that, then I definitely think that you would enjoy Slay the Princess. It is very unique and very dark, and I think it would be great for this time of year. Next, we are going back to the other side of things to more lighthearted fall vibes, and this one is more lighthearted Halloween vibes. This game has been out for a very long time. I think probably about as long as Gone Home has. I played this probably 10 years ago, and that is Costume Quest. And this one, I think there's a Costume Quest 1 and 2. I've only played the first one. It's a trick-or-treating RPG, kind of like along the lines of a JRPG. The combat is very similar to like your typical JRPG. You're basically trick-or-treating. I think you're trying to find your sister after she's been taken by somebody, and like there's candy involved as your rewards whenever you win a battle. It's silly. It's super silly. From what I remember, is not very dark at all. It's meant to be very tongue-in-cheek. You're just a bunch of kids that are trick-or-treating and also saving the world at the same time, I guess. I just really love this one. This one's great for just like wanting to get into the Halloween spirit without wanting to be scared at the same time. I just highly recommend this one. It's great for Halloween, especially. I think this is probably the one time of year people play this game, to be honest. I don't think it gets played like any other time of year. It is literally a Halloween game. Next up is a game that actually just released, I want to say a few months ago. And that is Wanderstop. And in Wanderstop, you are a former fighter in an arena who has kind of lost her way in the world. And you find this tea shop and decide to take a job there just to kind of see if you can like rekindle that fighting spirit that you had. And this one is just, I don't know. It's so cozy. It's very wholesome. It's very sad. And there are also some elements to it that are a little bit darker, I found. The whole thing, like where you're in a tea shop and you're learning how to make tea. You're making these cozy cups of tea for other patrons. It's kind of similar to Coffee Talk, but a little bit different because there are different like gameplay and story elements to it. But the fact that you are brewing tea, you're growing tea, it's just very fall vibey. Even the world that you're in just looks like a perfect like fall setting. It also reminds me so much of the book Legends and Lattes because it's kind of the same thing. Like a former fighter decides that she doesn't want to do that anymore, and she goes off and she opens a coffee shop in the middle of a town, and nobody's ever heard of coffee before. And it's just a very like wholesome, like she gets to meet people, she learns how to do business there. There's some other things that happen throughout the story that I don't want to spoil, but kind of similar vibes. But Wanderstop, I just think because you are brewing tea and it's just this like cozy like mug of tea, you see it steaming, it's just very vibey for fall. And I cannot recommend this game enough. It's so great. Like honestly, the story is wonderful. It's a great way to just immerse yourself into a game, and it's not super long either. I think you could probably finish it in maybe 10 hours, maybe less. Definitely recommend for fall. It's perfect. Finally, I just want to give some honorable mention shout outs to some of the online multiplayer games that I have played recently, because I think a lot of them have their own like fall holiday events going on. Now, obviously, I'm not going to talk about every single one because I don't play all of them. I'm just going to talk about the ones that I play real quick because they all have some sort of Halloween type fall themed thing that's kind of going on right now. Let's start with Palia. Palia is a farming multiplayer game, or actually a farming MMO kind of, where they have tons of different fall things that are happening right now. They always add new stuff because it is still in early access. They're always adding new things. And I know they have a big fall event coming up, or it started. I don't actually know if it started yet, but that one is a perfect game to play right now because it's all about farming and harvesting and like it just like, you know, scarecrows and all that kind of stuff. So it's like perfect for this time of year. Next would be Disney Dreamlight Valley, which is kind of the same thing. It's not an MMO like Palia is, but you can play it multiplayer and there is an online aspect to it. So you can, you know, do their Halloween events. You can do their fall events. They have a couple of things going on right now. I need to get back into that game. I haven't played it in a while, but I know that they always do something like for fall and for Halloween. You can even decorate your town to look like there is some sort of harvest event going on. It's just, yeah, got a nice little atmosphere for fall. And finally, I do want to talk about the MMOs that I play that are doing some fall events. Now, I know pretty much every MMO is going to be doing a fall event right now, but these are the two that I am currently playing, and that is Guild Wars 2. They've got the Shadow of the Mad King coming up probably in a week or two, I would think, which is their big Halloween event. It involves the jumping puzzle of the clock tower, which after 10 years, I still have not been able to beat. So, you know, you can try that. Very atmospheric for Halloween. And the other one is World of Warcraft. They have several fall kind of themed holidays right now. I think Brewfest is going on right now, which is like their version of Oktoberfest. So they have that. There's going to be a Halloween event that's coming out. I think there's another like kind of Thanksgiving themed event that they're going to be doing. If you play either of those MMOs, you can definitely check out those to get into the festive spirit as well. That wraps up my games to play in fall video. Hopefully you got some ideas of some games that you can play now, and that you find something that you really enjoy. Let me know down below if there's anything that you particularly like to play in the fall season, and I'll definitely check those out as well. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave it a like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.